The Porsche 911 is without a doubt one of the most iconic sports cars ever created. And here we have the latest generation, chassis code 992. This is a 2020 Porsche 911 Carrera 4S Cabriolet. And while the upper tier GT3 models, GT2 RS are really track-focused monsters, vehicles like a C4S are more designed for the daily driving. They're a great combination of luxury, technology, comfort, and some sportiness in there. And as a 992 generation, it's slightly grown in each dimension, but it's also come with a significant increase in terms of its abilities, the performance. 0 to 60 in these have been tested at as fast as 3 seconds flat, which is crazy for just a Carrera 4S model. It has a 3-liter turbocharged flat 6. All these 911s now, even though they don't have a turbo name on the end of them, have a turbocharged engine. That started with the 991.2. It makes 443 horsepower and 390 pound-feet of torque. This is all-wheel drive, has a 8-speed PDK transmission. I am really looking forward to checking this thing out and driving it, seeing what they've done with the brand new generation. But first, let's talk about the exterior. On the outside, the 992 generation, like all previous 911s before it, kind of undergo mild changes. It's nothing revolutionary. They're not going to completely change the shape, instantly recognizable as a 911. This front end does not have the sport design package. If you do option that, it ends up looking actually pretty similar to the 991. So the owner wanted something a little more modern looking, a completely different look to it. So this is the new front end. They've actually slightly changed the way the hood comes over there. The lines are slightly different. This color is called, I believe, Aventurin Green, and I think it looks really cool. It changes a lot in terms of how the light hits it. It's on these RS Spider wheels. Everything has gotten slightly bigger, the car is wider, and you can kind of see overall, especially if you go back to like a 996, 993 generation, these things are massive now. They're almost luxury touring vehicles, but overall unmistakable as a Porsche 911, and it looks extremely modern. If we come around to the back, I think that's where even more of the changes have occurred. With the Cabriolet, some people have complained that with the top down, you kind of got this like hump on the back. It's actually pretty high. In a darker color, you don't notice it as much. But the rear taillights is where you see the massive differences from the previous generation. As with the rest of the lineup and a lot of cars now, we've got this giant LED light bar across the back, and it's multifunctional. It's got this really 3D sculpted look to it, which is really awesome. You see it at night, how it functions with the turn signal and everything. Looks really cool. We've got these little vents on the back here. Fun fact, this is actually 9 of these, 2 vertical lights here, and then 9 more for 992. Exhaust tips are something that a lot of people have complained about with this car because they're sort of real, sort of not real. They're not actually joined to the exhaust pipe. There's a gap, and then these are like molded tips in the bumper. Couple reasons, one of the big reasons for doing that is it actually lowers your repair costs if you were to get rear-ended on this, because you can just swap out that entire assembly. I don't hate it that much because at least with the pipe coming there, it's not like things like an Audi SQ5 where it's fake plastic molding that's just solid and the exhaust pipe goes straight down before it hits the bumper. At least the exhaust gases would be exiting that area. And then there's other changes around the back, but it's pretty much unmistakable this is going to be a new generation if you know cars. But then the thing is, with every single Porsche 911, if you don't know that much about cars, this might as well be a 997 and you don't know the difference. But to the people that care about it and where it counts, they've updated it, made it a lot more modern. I think it looks really good. Before we hop in the car, we have this really cool feature we get to show you guys regarding opening the front trunk. The owner discovered it when he was cleaning the car. You have the key here, you set your hand on the front bumper and slide it forward, and the front trunk opens up, which is, I don't think any previous 911 has had that feature, and it's pretty awesome. To get in the car, we have these like sensor active door handles now. Supposedly you can have your hand there and it opens up like that, and then to close it, you can just press that button there and it'll lock and retract. The owner has also told me that sometimes it's a little bit finicky. If he has it in the pocket and is farther away from the car door, sometimes he'll be there motioning and nothing happens and it takes a while. I don't know how I feel about this in terms of the added complexity and potential long-term reliability. There's certain other cars, you think the Jag F-Type R had that too. When you unlock, it pops out. It's kind of cool. It feels more future and modern, but sometimes just a good old-fashioned door handle that works. Nothing was really wrong with it, but that is how you get into 992 now. On the inside, the 992 has advanced in every single regard without a single doubt. It is beautiful in here. There are excellent materials, all the latest technology, a lot of screens, but there are some downsides. Let's talk about that first. The one that almost everybody has discussed is this shifter lever, and it's tiny. It just feels vestigial, but that's not the biggest problem here. My biggest complaint is on either side, there's just this black plastic. It's not functional. There's no touchscreen. There's no display. There's no buttons there. It's just kind of empty black plastic, and that doesn't look that great. On the previous generation 911s, you actually had buttons there. This is not my favorite part of it, but then moving on to other stuff. The materials are amazing. The design of things are really cool. It feels very sleek and modern. I love that on these little toggle switches, there's actual physical buttons still. They've got this like kind of knurled feel to them. There's a texture to it. You've got some buttons here that you can link to custom things, that essentially things used frequently. The diamond symbol represents that. The steering wheel is an evolution of the previous generation one. They've got this kind of floating button type of look to it. You got your drive mode control, it's the perfect size. And then behind the steering wheel, you still have a analog tachometer, which is one of my favorite things. But on either side, you have these really clear digital displays that present you with an almost overwhelming amount of information. They are very clear, but there's a ton of stuff going on there. You can customize some various things. In the middle, you've got the kind of the PCM system there. The owner has actually told me he's got a couple complaints with it, how sometimes it takes a little bit to boot up in the morning, and you actually now have to close your garage door, as an example, through this system. There's no physical button there, and he's turned the car on, cold start in the morning, backed out, and sat there waiting for the thing to wake up in order for him to actually close his garage door and leave. But I mean, the graphics look very nice once it's up and running. Without a single doubt, the 992 generation interior has taken one of the industry-leading quality, design, materials, technology, and pushed it to the next level. This is an amazing place to be inside. It's got all the tech you would possibly want: comfort, luxury, practicality. The back seats, even though the car's gotten bigger, it's tiny. An adult would not fit back there. There's a kid seat back there because the owner has a child, and that would be useful. But to an adult, this is still a two-seater vehicle. The first thing you notice while driving this C4S is the sound. It's got the sport exhaust, and it legitimately sounds really good. So it went to a 3-liter turbocharged flat 6. That flip actually happened where the Carreras went to turbocharged with the 991.2 generation. A lot of people complain, oh, the loss of the naturally aspirated flat 6. Well, this thing sounds good. You got a lot. You can hear the turbo spooling. It crackles and pops, and it's actually pretty loud, and it's a good quality sound. So initially, I really like the way this 992 sounds. As with, I mean, all Porsches, PDK is the absolute best, and it's flawless. Paddle shifter response is amazing, and then when you leave it just in its automatic mode, it does exactly what you would want it to do. With this drive mode toggle on the steering wheel, you can go from normal to sport, sport plus, and then there's wet and individual modes. This thing is also seriously quick. Again, as I mentioned earlier, they were tested at 60 in low 3 seconds. I think a coupe C4S did 0 to 60 in 3 seconds flat. That is really fast for being just a Carrera 4S, not a higher end GTS model or a turbo. Do you guys hear that? That was legitimately loud. This thing sounds good. It does feel bigger. It's gotten heavier, it's wider. It doesn't feel like a nimble little sports car anymore. It's honestly becoming closer to a grand touring vehicle given its sizes. So as a daily driver, it's excellent. But as something that you would want to take on back roads, it's still good. But for true track work, it's not going to feel anywhere as nimble or as fun or as capable as a GT3. I would much rather go for a fun drive in the GT3. This is your refined daily driver luxury 911. Now that I'm driving, I've noticed one major issue with the interior is, given the way the screens are angled in the middle and the way your steering wheel is positioned, it's really hard to see some of the screens and the information on the outer two dials. Wow. I am in love with this powertrain. I've said this before in Porsches I've driven, but every Porsche I drive, it just feels so perfectly well engineered, well designed. It does everything so well. With this 992, all the materials are excellent. I like the design overall. There are a couple little minor things that you'll want to see the ownership perspective, where I talked to Alec about some problems and complaints he has that he's discovered living with the car and driving it. The complexity with the infotainment system, some of the weird, somebody like Doug DeMuro would call them quirks and features, but some of the things are actually kind of inconvenient. But overall, evaluating this as a daily driver sports car, I like it a lot. It sounds great. I love the way they look now. And again, like a lot of people, including the owner, when they first came out, they're like, on the styling. We were so used to the way the 991 looked. 991.2, I think still looks amazing. Some of the styling cues were a little more controversial, but as time has gone on, seeing them in person, seeing some different specs and colors, I think they have done an excellent step in pushing it forward to the next most modern Porsche styling language. And then the way it drives is beyond reproach. I mean, it is extremely capable, it is extremely comfortable, it is the perfect combination of what the Porsche 911 has become. If we talk about value, Porsches never do great when you speak about value because they are extremely, extremely expensive. This thing, as optioned, is $160,000, just over that. And the owner actually exercised some amount of restraint. He didn't go crazy. This is his daily driver. He has other track-focused vehicles like a 600 LT that he tracks. So he didn't get like four-wheel steering and some other stuff. It has sport chrono, some leather, upgraded sound system. But 160 grand is a lot of money. That is a ton of money. Now, if you want to compare used and new, it's a little bit unfair because it's depreciation, but like you can get yourself a pretty nice 911 Turbo from a 991 generation for that kind of money. You're talking used R8, you're talking, that's a lot of money. But that's what it costs to get yourself a brand new 911. They continue to creep up in prices, and at the current rate, I fully expect like a 991 or 992 Turbo S to be in the $200,000 range. But if you can afford it and you want a Porsche, you want the Porsche experience, the 992 C4S, I think, is an excellent daily driver. It's comfortable, it's capable, it sounds great, it looks great. I'm extremely happy with the direction that Porsche is going in. I cannot wait to see the higher end models, the GT3s, the GT3 RSs, the Turbo S, if they go hybrid. This still deserves every single bit of praise that it has been given. It has definitely earned it. I've really liked the 992. Hope you guys like this video. Make sure you check out the ownership interview where Alec talks about some of the things that you would only find out by living with the car. And then make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.